What's up, music fans of the internet? I'm Derek.
I'm Kevin.
And we're last week's album, the only music reviews with two different views. And this week we're talking about Alberta Cross by Alberta Cross. And we're asking the big question, does this Swede give American Americana bands a run for their money? Before we go any further, we're going to start things off like we always do, drinking a beer. Cheers, Kevin, and cheers, everyone at home.
Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home.
All right, so if our big question wasn't confusing enough, I'll kind of start breaking that down. Alberta Cross was originally singer-songwriter Peter Eriksson Stacky and bassist Terry Wolfers. Wolfers left the band in 2013, leaving only Peter Eriksson Stacky, who is originally from Sweden, hence the Swede in the big question. He's currently working out of Brooklyn, and on this album, he's got a number of friends that are on here, as the band has kind of had a revolving door since coming together in 2005. This album, their self-titled album, is their third full-length proper studio album, although this one was recorded in a church. So I don't know at what point does a church become or stop becoming a studio if you're recording there. But we're not going to dive into those larger questions. But first, we're going to answer the question, what does it sound like? So, Kevin, why don't you start us off?
Sure, Derek. I think this sounds like Houndmouth, Oasis, and Radiohead crossed paths at a late-night jam session.
I like that. I like that. I think it sounds like Ryan Adams of Monsters and Men, Dawes, Nathaniel, Rateliff, and the Night Sweats playing a crazy game of poker. For some reason, we have like activities wrapped up here. So I guess you could say it's lively, or at least we're hinting at that. So that brings us to key tracks. Kevin, what did you have?
I've got track number 3, Western State, and number 4, Easy Street. What about you?
Nice. I'm going with Ghost of Santa Fe, which is number 2, and Beneath My Love, number 8. So I'll start us off. Ghost of Santa Fe really captured my attention. There's an intro that kicks off with warm horns cascading down, rapping snare drum, driving keys. It really kind of reminded me of Monsters and Men right there. Verses were smaller in scale, featuring softer piano, acoustic guitar, sparing drums, and later verses had hints of organ and slide or steel pedal guitar, which I thought was cool. It featured anthemic chorus with layered vocals. Lyrics recalling recollection of love lost. So just really, you know, I like the layered sounds here. Very lively to start off the album on the second track here. Really dug it. So why don't you tell us about Western State?
Sure. It's, I guess you could categorize it as Americana pop. It's probably the poppiest song on the album, I thought, but a really good one nonetheless. The lyrics describe being there for someone who's sort of searching for themselves and their path in life, which is a nice little sentiment. And for me, the hook of this song is the horn, and particularly the pleading horn outro. I really like how he's bringing in multiple types of horns, actually, into this overall Americana sound. Makes it really stand out and give you something different than, you know, a lot of the other Americana out there today.
Absolutely. You know, I noticed a lot of those similarities in my next key track, Beneath My Love. This one was really kind of a slow builder, especially instrumentally. It kind of opened with a descending acoustic guitar riff and vocals, joined later by cello, soft tribal beat, more strings, joined by a tighter drum beat, some falsetto vocals for a while, kind of it changed up the vocal sounds from what was there from a lot of the other album. Build-up featured really intensifying percussion drums, group vocals, electric guitar before fading out. And it really, at first, reminded me of Damien Rice before kind of fading out like Portugal the Man. So just kind of very, very expansive even within one song. So why don't you tell us about Easy Street?
Sure. It is built on this framework of soft piano, acoustic picking, and really emotional vocals. And there's also trumpet and what I believe is steel guitar sort of going at the same time, which just creates a really interesting sound that I've never really heard those two instruments playing off each other. And I thought it would be, you know, weird in my head if you had told me those on paper, but hearing it in the song, it makes perfect sense. And just an overall, it's more of a slower number. I think this album overall is a little bit slow in general. There's a couple of upbeat tracks, and normally those are the kinds that catch my ear, but this one, for whatever reason, caught my ear as a really nice slow jam. So dug Easy Street for sure.
Nice. All right, so that brings us to Best Lyric. Kevin, what jumped out at you?
What jumped out at me was Some Words from Heavy Words, is the name of the track. And the line goes, in your head, you wonder if I ever felt the pain. In my head, I'm wondering if I'll ever love again. And I really thought it was just this great sort of lover's tension put together in this nice little couplet. I think it's very intentional. It's both in their heads. They're clearly not talking about what's going on, and that's sort of creating this tension overall. But just a really nice line and really nice rhyme as well. What about you?
Absolutely. I'm pulling one from one of your key tracks, Western State. And he says, and you lived your life like a house of cards on the edge of your seat just to match your past. Just really enjoyed the play on words here, the imagery of a house of cards and jumping right into being on edge of your seat, just really in those few words, just building the tension and anxiety there in very descriptive ways. Just really like that. All right, so that brings us to overall rating and answering the big question. Does this Swede give American Americana bands a run for their money? Say that 5 times fast.
I will start with that question, and I will say it once. Does this Swede give American Americana bands a run for their money or their US dollars? I think so. I think he does some really interesting things with Americana sounds. And, you know, it's not unheard of for Swedish bands to do that. I think we can all think of some who do. Overall rating-wise, on the pro side, I think the sound is very soulful, a little gritty. Definitely feels like a return to form in terms of that raw production that you hear in Alberta Cross's earlier work. I love the mix of sounds, the horns, the strings, a little bit of whistling, just getting really imaginative within the Americana genre. And I thought the vocals are also really well done. He does subtle changes here and there to keep things fresh. On the con side, I found the lyrics to be a little too vague for me to connect with personally, and I think the album got a little bit sleepy and slow for me at times. I think it could have done it without a couple of tracks. But overall, a very fresh take on Americana, and I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. What do you think, Derek?
We're going to agree on a lot of points, and maybe hopefully I'll find something to disagree with. You know, does this week give American Americana bands a run for their money? I absolutely. You know, I think we totally agree here. The instrumentation really jumped out to me. You know, very detailed at times. For example, in Beneath Your Love, my second key track, there was a prominent triangle at times. So I just thought that that was very detailed to have there. Just, you know, it's that I think that speaks volumes to what was really going on. You know, as far as the con side, I completely agree with you too. I thought some were a little too slow, downtrodden towards the end for my liking. And so we're going to agree on overall rating as well. Give this one also 3. So that's a combined 6 out of 10, but you really should check this one out because I think the way he brings this together and just the instrumentation alone is very unique and worth listening to. So there you have it. Check out Alberta Cross by Alberta Cross. Thanks for joining us here at last week's album. Don't forget to subscribe, where we're bringing you the only music reviews with 2 different views. And as always, I'm Derek.
And I'm Kevin.
Cheers, guys.